I'm really enjoying that. That's really
We can
good.
go again. Hang on. Here, hang on. Let's see what we got. Hang on. All right, that's enough of that. All right, guys, how's it going? Welcome to Tap Solutions After Hours. I think it is very much after hours, isn't it, Sean?
It sure is. What's going on? And just to let you know, you should make like a 10-hour segment of just us just doing this to that song the whole time.
Yes.
That's what we need to do. Just do a 10-hour segment.
That's pretty much what we're gonna probably end up doing. I didn't mean to do that. That was a secret thing. No one's supposed to see it. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding, guys. I hope everybody's having a fantastic week. Lord knows it's hump day, right? Everybody's hump day is done. So it's over. Sorry, guys. I wish it wasn't. But we got some good news. If you haven't already figured it out, we at Tap Solutions are all about that work-life balance. I know, Sean. We don't work.
We are, right?
We don't work thousands of hours or anything. I mean, we don't spend 14 hours a day working on stuff.
You know what? It's funny. We talk about work-life balance, and right now it's 6:00, and we're doing this video.
Exactly.
I'm all about work-life balance. I like to.
Right.
Hey, wife, we can't go out right now because I got to do this with Joe real quick.
Of course.
I'm actually balancing. I'm balancing my life. I'm saying I can't do this, so I can do this. So we are balancing.
Well, absolutely. And then you have this. Sorry, I just wanted to hear it one more time.
It's great.
No,
great.
But I think that's exactly the great lead-in to what we want to talk about today, guys, and that's going to be why work-life balance kind of feels like it's harder than ever. Sean, last night I got home from our Network in Action meeting, and I got home at 7:30.
Yeah.
And now Network in Action meeting, kind of ends at 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that, right? So I know that we were, it was all self-inflicted. I definitely stuck around after time talking and doing the networking stuff, right?
Well,
but I think
it was meaningful conversations, yeah.
Right. But as far as a work-life balance was concerned, it was definitely the worst decision I could have made, I think. So
I think there's a reason for everything happening, and I would say that when you're an entrepreneur and when you're a business owner, you call the shots. And but here's the thing, though. So you stayed late last night, but you have the ability, Joe, to say, you know what, I'm going to work 1 hour later on.
Right.
So it's up to you to balance it out. But I think that's one of the beautiful pleasures of being self-employed, where you make your time.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's just another testament. What you mentioned right there is definitely the thought of like an always on business culture, which is, I think you and I can very much agree should just be cast right out the window with a lot of other terrible ideas, and it's like, I think what our friend yesterday was saying, something about wearing 57 hats. I'm gonna actually like boil it down a little more to how small business owners kind of end up wearing like 10 hats, at least. And I think what I found very interesting, Sean, during a conversation I had, what was it? It was a couple of days ago. I was talking about AI with some folks, and just kind of some of the things that we do to kind of lighten the load, if you will. And this person said something very interesting to me. They said, well, isn't that just adding more work? And I was like, what do you mean? Because I was just genuinely puzzled. Like AI, it adds complexity. It adds more work. And then everybody around us was nodding their head going, yeah. And I was just like, why in the heck would I even put AI into my process? And if it was just going to add more work, guys, seriously, what are you guys talking about? I wanted to know where this was coming from.
Well, I think really when I hear someone say something like that, it's the learning curve that goes into it, Joe. And I think for a lot of people, the notion of having to learn a new tool, a new technology is overwhelming to begin with. And
Right.
I think that's part of the challenge. Keep something in mind though, those that are in the IT field are having to constantly do professional development at a different level, at an exponential level.
Yeah.
So for you and I, when you see a new tool, we don't feel burdened to have to learn it because we have no choice. But I think if you look at it from a different profession, the level of professional development, the level of having to, put on your thinking hat, thinking cap. Remember we say when we were a kid, um, to do it is it's harder. It's harder to switch. That's what I would assume.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the intention is to remove the tedious stuff, right? Not add more tedium. So I guess if I had to say, it's a quality of life enhancement. Once you do get past the learning curve, of course. So I get it. Learning curve is sounds about right.
But to add to the challenge, what I've noticed with a ton of especially small business owners that are still in their infancy stage with their practice, they don't have their together. Okay, so with that
Mhm.
being said, they don't have defined processes. They don't have a defined strategy for their business, and so therefore, adding artificial intelligence directly into the mix, it's not the right time because they're still trying to figure out these pieces. And now you
Right.
want to add this to it. Now it's different. So yes. So I think for a lot of people, they need to have that part put together, and then that'll help. We were there.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, no, I hear you, and I think it's really what people should be focusing more on with this, and really like, or at least approaching it like this is it's delegating versus doing, and then keeping that the forefront thought. Just like if you hired somebody to do something, you would delegate. For delegating, you know, and that would be the goal with the artificial intelligence. And look, if it is adding complexity and you have gone down the rabbit hole with it, then you need to cast it away from you with the other bad idea of always on culture. Just leave it right there next to it and throw it outside because it's not doing what it needs to do. And I think I think what I wanted to do also is since we're talking about it, if we want to talk about just like real world examples where AI kind of frees up time just a little bit. What do you think of that?
No, absolutely. I think. Oh man, sometimes I wonder what would I be doing now. What are I would say that what would I have done if I had this a long time ago? How much more productive I would have been. Um, so yeah, I mean, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first, or
I can go first. Sure.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I guess one of the biggest examples that I can think of right now, just off the top of my head, is reviews. Really, I mean, look, I remember when people used to respond to all their reviews, but they would go home late at night, jump onto Google, at the dinner table, whatever, maybe before they went to bed, and they would jump on the phone or on their computer, and they would sit here and they would respond to a bunch of reviews, on Google, Facebook, what have you, right? And it was that time period. And the problem is, in my opinion, is that uh, it's like one, it's a time sink, especially if you've got a lot of locations, this and that, third, and on top of that, the timing is way off. So if you got something where somebody left a review at the beginning of the day, um, all of a sudden you're swooping in later and you're responding to it. It looks a little weird. It looks a little unprofessional because again, you got that constant, always on cultural idea, not just in the business sphere, but like really just in society in general. You got people wanting immediacy. I think that what really gets me on it is that because people were doing it so late, well, some days you're just tired and you're not going to do it. So you're just not going to respond to your Google reviews. So that makes it even worse because, well, you need to. So that's really kind of where I think if people don't, where AI can really help with this is, hey, I can help auto populate reviews for you, like respond to them automatically using either templates that you set up, or hey, you can just give us some guardrails Tell it only respond in this way when there's a certain star, yada yada yada, and you can. And more importantly, it's the negative reviews as well. That if you get those, the AI can make it a little easier for you to handle those because, well, you won't get emotional about it. I mean, because don't we all look? I don't blame anybody for getting emotional about negative reviews. Every negative review you get on Google, for instance, is one step closer to getting winking you out of digital presence existence. Which is a real thing.
When I think of the use of artificial intelligence, at least for me, I think I look at it as just helping me with areas that I don't want to spend energy and time to it, and it correlates with what you said about the reviews. Um, I've noticed I've used it a lot for frameworks, building frameworks. I've been building a lot of course content, and what I like to do is I like to structure, and I think I like to use use a variety of different tools to be able to help me build out a framework to help me map together the overall um, what I'm trying to get at or what I'm trying to convey through that particular module course. That's been very helpful for me. Um, but reviews, I never thought about that. Shielding yourself from the emotional baggage that comes with reading the review. I never thought about that, but you're right. You're absolutely right about that.
I mean,
Um,
you're still going to feel it, but it's like, are you going to respond in a way that isn't completely frowned upon? you know,
yeah, that's that really is interesting. I think the other piece I like is whenever you're able to summarize within the tool, summarize the conversation between you
yeah,
and the customer. Those things are so important. Like you're in the trenches, you've been working all day, and your team member has been going back and forth yapping with the client, and then of course you got to be caught up to speed. I don't want to catch you up to speed, Joe. Just click the AI button, and just read it whenever you have a
right.
minute, right? And it's vice versa, right? So those are the things that are very helpful with it.
Well, and getting a little more in on the helpful point. Like
Yeah.
in terms of saving time, uh, on the creative side, I can tell you right now that AI has been massively beneficial. Um, Gosh, what are the ways I can express right now? I mean, oh, here's one example. So let's say that I am tasked with making a logo of some kind. The thing is that before artificial intelligence, what I would have to go do is spend hours upon hours thinking about styles, design research, ways to take multiple ideas that someone is inspired by, aka the owner, the person who wants me to make the logo, their logo, and I would have to like find examples as well that hopefully they've given me, but also find inspirational examples that would really make me go, okay, I want to do something like that. Everybody goes through it. Everybody who's creative has to. There's no way for you to be constantly creative all the time. It's not feasible. So you need to get inspiration, and the only way you can do that is looking at other people's work. Well, guess what? AI can pump out tons and tons of of insanely researched examples of styles in seconds. I don't need to spend hours looking for things anymore. Now, I'll still do that every now and then. I want to see what's people are doing, what's trending, stuff like that. But I can easily get a good idea of what I would like to do, and then from that. So what used to take hours, sometimes days, because sometimes you're just not inspired, and you don't want to work on it. It's just a
Right.
thing of it's the classic creative conundrum. It was boiled now down to freaking minutes. Like we're talking, I instant gratification. And the thing is you should never take whatever AI pumps out and just use it, but you can certainly get a good. You can take pieces of what it has, and you can definitely make it your own.
Right. I would say that we've spent a lot of time when we talk about artificial intelligence focused on predictive analytics. Utilizing data that already exists and predicting based on that, and of course the whole um, generative piece that you're referring to. But we haven't really talked a lot about agentic, which is the next wave. And the reason why I bring that up, Joe, is because one thing that one thing that I have found is when you're using Microsoft Teams or whenever you're using these other systems where it creates a transcript, it's summarized, it gives you a couple of to dos. I wanted to do more. I came across a tool called Proactor.ai, and it's like the next level where now it's taking all that information and it's giving you detailed strategies on what you should be doing next with those meeting notes. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that or not, but this is this is I'm going to put in the chat. But this is the tool that I've been looking at. But it's really it goes a little deeper than just what Microsoft Team does. And what's interesting is they have it for students, they have it for business owners, they have it for sales, and then traditional work and meetings. But I'm really interested in seeing how the agentic piece is going to be able to shift how people utilize AI. Because I'll be honest with you, it sounds kind of boring when we just type something in a prompt and it gives you an output. I want to just continue doing stuff. Just go do it.
Well, and I think that to me, it feels like I have a hard time fathoming exactly where the extent of the agentic ends in that capacity. It like it's because to me it's like I understand input and output, and I understand that if I give somebody a task, they're going to continue to do that task up to a reasonable result. Something like I'm going to spend 4 or 5 hours looking for something. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find a bunch of some things, and then I'm going to stop because it's taking too long now to do it. With AI and agentic, it doesn't have a time limit outside of tokens. Like that's where, and I know you can specify guardrails. I understand that, but to me, it's like, I guess what I'm getting at is like, I'm a little nervous about agentic AI, to be honest with you, because I don't know exactly where it stops doing the things it's going to do. What is it going to do? Like what kind of capabilities will it have? Permissions will it have? All
Sure.
that stuff. Like to me, it's like
Yeah.
it could easily decide to do some very wacky crap. Is what I'm trying to say. Like that's where
Well,
it gets a little weird to me.
well, and I think what's also important to talk about is when we look at these large language models. Right now, we are so focused on using these web interfaces that are connected to the large language models that sit in a data center, and we don't know
Yeah.
exactly who's controlling it, who's seeing the data, where it's going, and so forth. But there are large language models where you can download on your local machine where it's isolated and it's no longer part of the internet. It can be part of your own local infrastructure, right? The reason why I bring that up is I want to flip it to you on agentic in terms of humanoid robots. For a long time, robot companionship has been a big deal, especially for the elder, uh, geriatric. There's a lot of different topics on that area, but with the emergence of the Tesla bot, or I think it's what's called Optimus, if I'm not mistaken, I'll be honest with you. If I had that damn thing where it was able to go and shock my pool, or it was to put chlorine tablets and do those type of deals, not necessarily anything else, but just doing the tasks that I just don't want to mess with, mowing the lawn, taking out the trash, doing things like that. That would save me a ton of time, so I can focus on the things that are really more important in my life than doing those tasks. That's what I'm looking at. Even with the business practice, I don't want it to make. I'm not wanting to run my business. But what I want to do is I want to make it where it's I'm a lot more effective and a lot more efficient with what I'm doing. For example, I go to a meeting. I had a great meeting today this morning. I won't mention who it was, but it was a great meeting. It was someone I haven't spoken with for a long time. We shared a lot of information, and it wasn't recorded. Specifically, wasn't recorded on purpose because for privacy. But it would have been nice if it was captured, it was transcribed, but then it also came up with actionable items because at the end there wasn't concrete actionable items. But it would have been nice if the tool would have been able to figure out based on the synergies between the two and come up with ideas that would be able to help benefit both parties. Does that make sense what I'm saying? That's
Sure.
that's really what I'm looking at. But I hear you, man. I hear you. It's we live in a jungle with no guardrails. But I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's it's an interesting time. It really is, man.
Well, no, it's definitely something that I think understanding exactly everything that's going on in that area is something we should all be doing. I don't think that we need to be not utilizing technology, though. I think that it's fair for people to have a line that they don't want to cross when it comes to that technology. Uh, but I don't think that it's not something we shouldn't be looking at and understanding because the moment that it's not like the technology doesn't exist, and if we need to be able to like understand it for it to not be used negatively against us. It's like not understanding how a cell phone works, and a scammer gets you pretty easily because they show you this nice shiny thing on the cell phone claiming it's somebody trying to hack you. Well, you don't know any better because you didn't bother to learn your damn cell phone. So it's like, it happens all the time, unfortunately, with people. And sure, some of them are older, but hey, some of them are younger too because they haven't bothered to learn the nuts and bolts of how technology works either. You
Right.
know,
Right.
they just know the app does the thing, and that's all I need. But why is it doing the thing? How is it doing the thing? So, but I think we've gone far afield from, I guess, examples as well outside of this. One last example I want to mention before we go to the next part of this is it's really as somebody who's always been a little more on the creative side, though on the tech side I've always had my 2 feet into it. I've never shied away from it. But what I've always shied away from is anything that required me to learn how to code, like anything. And it's just like I know that the moment I have to dip my toe into that is the moment I'm never escaping it because I know I'm gonna like have to learn this, that. I'm gonna keep going down the rabbit hole just like I did when I was learning After Effects and all this other stuff. And I'm having, I was need to learn every aspect of those programs. I'm gonna need to learn how to, if I was going to learn how to code, I was gonna have to just dive in all the way under it. And the problem is unfortunately, there's things that I cannot do on that creative / technical side, like making programs, making games, making uh, web apps, blah blah blah, stuff that really could be I could really do because I have some great ideas, of course, but also more importantly, I can really make these things look the way I would want them to look. Couldn't do it because I didn't know how to code. But now with artificial intelligence, I know people call it vibe coding, but guess what? It's more than that. I can literally go in as somebody who knows very little about coding, and I can make some very interesting things and things that are unique even to the industry that I'm mostly been a part of, but more importantly, even just daily life stuff, which is just absolutely fascinating to me. Like the quality of what I've been able to make is astounding, and it's not just enabling a coder, right, to just make really great code now. I'm a non-coder, and I have made WordPress plugins, I've made web apps, I've made sections of game stuff for Unreal Engine, I don't code. I'm a creative. Wild.
It is, and I just want to mention, while those are great benefits, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm gonna put my security hat on, man. There's a ton of vulnerabilities because it's not using the best practices. Now, it's great as a good start, but any person that is looking to implement one of these tools for the real live stuff, live production, you really need to have a coder. So those of you that are going to do vibe coding, please get a developer that's going to be able to help you figure out the actual vulnerabilities to your product, especially if it's a WordPress plugin. We know those too well. So,
Yep.
especially ones that are not up to date all the time. But no, you're right, man. It's incredible. It really is. It's really exciting too, especially whenever you have a concept, you have an idea, and you see like start working. I know we use love.dev to do some work, and it's pretty neat. It really is.
Well, it enables you to do some wild stuff. And my thing is really in pointing it out is like, uh, you know, I could go into a meeting with a ton of different people, even project leads for, you know, making a web application, game, whatever. And I can preach to them all day. I can even show a PowerPoint presentation. I can show them a video. I can show them concept stuff. It's all well and good, but to see it in front of you, operational, working as intended, and then all you got to do as the project lead is, or me as in front of a project leader is like, I want you to make that, but make sure that it's doing all the best practices, using all the best practices. Go. I mean, here's access to it. Like that to me, you've just jump started your project through the roof. Like at that point, it should be almost child's play because you know exactly what the end result should be. And so now getting there is going to be another story altogether. But it's just like having a drawn out plan as an architect. You're the architect. You've made the plan. Now I need somebody to go actually build the motherfucker, right? So sorry for the French, but I think it's important, And so that being said, I want to put a cap on that because I know we're getting a little into time. I want to talk a bit about more of the emotional side of kind of work-life balance. I think I mean, right out the gate, I can only say that it's something that I think about quite a bit. Sean, why don't you go ahead and take this one first, since I took the beginning.
The emotional side of work-life balance.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think I'm like probably the worst person to discuss about this because I've always been a person that's comfortable working a ton of hours. And to be honest with you, I have family that's been very very supportive of that. But then again, of course, we're all on the same page and we're all moving towards one specific goal. And so there's a lot of support. I think that's the biggest piece, Joe. I think when it comes to the emotional aspect of it is whenever you, the family, everybody's on the same page and we're all going towards that one goal. It makes it a lot easier to go through grueling experiences, and that support's important. Now, I know people we know people that have joined the ranks with us and just couldn't handle it because it's not that they weren't completely into it. It's the external noise. It's the family that was not that they're not supportive because they don't want to be supportive. They just don't understand. I'll just put it to you that way in a very nice way. They just don't understand. There's a disconnect. But the emotional side of work-life balance. Yeah, I'd say whenever you wake up and it's dark and you get off the computer when it's dark, it can be depressing at times. I don't recommend that. I think if you do that, you should definitely put some clocks and some timers on where you get up and you walk around. You go and do some exercise. You do that to be very healthy. At least please urinate, and not not hold it. But if you binge, give yourself a break. I mean, like today's a great example. I texted you all ago. I'm like, hey man, want to know when we're going to be done so I can get out because
Yeah.
I'm getting to that stage where I've been cooped up in the house all day and I got to get some fresh air and see see some wind and some trees and something that'll right.
Well, of
Um,
course.
right.
I totally get it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think really for me, it's about understanding. Very similar to what you're saying. Like
Well, I mean,
you
people
only
have. Sorry, I'm sorry that you had stopped. Go ahead.
no, like you only have so much energy throughout the day.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always over the years I really because I remember like rolling hard. When I was uh freelancing quite a bit. At first, what I would do is I would try to do as much as I possibly could in a day uh, until I couldn't keep my eyes open, you know. And the problem was, you do 6 months of 18 hours a day, uh, you start really feeling it, And I started getting some weird heart problem things where I just wasn't sleeping like I should. I wasn't taking the time to get up and move around and eat. It was bad. And it wasn't because I was scared or terrified or any of that stuff of certain things. It was just there was nobody there to stop me from uh, just working my tail off. And I think and even though my wife is very supportive and always has been, um, you know, she knows that in the past I've always had to work real hard and real late, so she didn't really see it till later, and it was a problem. But I didn't. Long story short, I achieved extreme burnout
Right.
to the point where I didn't want to do anything anymore, like anything anymore. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to think about it. I just wanted to play games or watch movies or whatever the heck, anything to just not do whatever the hell it was that I was doing for 18 hours a day. And it got really bad. And I discovered that there was like four major things. I'll keep it to that because I'm all over the place right now. But I think what really I got away from it was burnout. Number one. Two would be decision fatigue. I had a hard time making decisions from working 18 hours a day. And then I was losing motivation like crazy. That's the third one. And the last one, creativity just died completely. You know, and so those are four terrible things. And all of it from working 18 hours. When I implemented a simple, I'm stopping work at this time. I work from this time in the morning all the way till this time at night, and I had a cutoff time. Within a week, I had gotten back all those things that I had lost, and I really started to get more work as well. And I don't have the burnout, and I think it's going to be different for everybody, Sean. It's going to be different for everybody. Everybody has a different threshold, and I think that's where we run into constantly finding out where that threshold is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody saying I can only work between 9 and 3 or 9 and 4 or something like that, because if the threshold is met and they don't have enough energy to be productive, then get the hell out and go recuperate. So that way tomorrow you can come back just as strong as you were today, right? You don't have and again, that's this part of the problem I had with corporate culture. I know you did too, Sean, where it's just like, what do you mean? You're supposed to be at your desk when you're supposed to be at your desk, you know? And I couldn't stand that stuff.
It's interesting you mentioned that. I was just talking to someone that I've known for quite a while, and they were laid off from it's a cybersecurity practice, by the way, and they didn't work with me, but they worked for another company. It was based out of San Antonio, and they were based on federal contracts. Long story short, they had been with the company for over 5 years, and they were doing really well, and they were laid off a couple months ago, and like zero care, zero care. Apparently the owner of the company knew this person, and just let HR fire him and didn't care. It's that's the issue with corporate America, man. They just don't. They just don't care about people. And I think what's happening there's a shift. I think there's a huge shift where people are recognizing that, especially with the emergence of social media and the way it's coming across. People are seeing the way they're being treated, the layoffs, the way people are being talked to, and people are starting to figure out, what? There's a different way of being able to sustain life through entrepreneurship. So there's a ton of creative juices that are flowing, and it's it's just bad, man. It's just you put your heart and soul into something, and people treat you like crap. You know. So
And I agree. I think let the corporate mentality destroyed the mentality of humanization.
right.
The companies used to have, at least they profess to have. In our not our parents or even our grandparents' time period, but before that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know. Even my grandparents anyway. I mean, my grandparents are World War II. That was them their time, their
On,
great
on
generation.
my mom's side, it's the same thing for mine. Yes, yes.
Right. And so for me, my grandfather had a totally different mentality on how to work than my father did, which was shocking to me when I realized it. But it was kind of like, but it made sense. And here's the thing: his company cared about him. He wasn't just a number. When he had to go do something, he went and did it, and it was understood. There was support from the company to go do it. And he was a CPA. Eventually, my grandfather actually, who was a World War II airplane bomber pilot, and he was actually at the Battle of Midway, and which is amazing. He got out of there alive. But yeah, he ended up owning his own CPA firm, actually, believe it or not. So, but what's interesting is, he kept that mentality around. He didn't want to. He didn't want people to be just a freaking number, as and live in this corporate bubble. He wanted it to be something where he knew he understood what your needs. He wanted to see your success. More importantly, he wanted to see you grow. And I think that's where we need to get back to again. I think that shift is happening. I
Yeah.
really do. But what makes me nervous is the artificial intelligence side coming in. And if we don't have a human centric approach while we're using the tools of AI, we could easily make it all about numbers again. So I just want people to be aware and concerned, I guess is what I'm saying, and think about what is the human element that we need to throw into our business as well on top of these new automation tools.
Well, and I think, and I'll just leave you with this, and it goes back. I just want to share this with you when it comes to the emotional side of work, the emotional side. I remember growing up, it was always about, you work an honest hour, you give a man an honest hour, and you do that. And the employee and the employer, there was a mutual respect. I'm going to give you my hour, and you're going to value me for my 1 hour, and that's not the case now. You know, and I think what happens is the individual that's putting their heart and soul into their passion at the job, um, whenever they're thrown away like garbage, and I'm just going to call it that the way it is. Um, it's an emotional reckoning. It's not only financially, but it's also emotional because you've spent so much time and energy building it like it's your own, even though you're working for an organization. But then whenever they lay you off or when they do that to you, it destroys you. You know. So, anyways, work life balance. Do what you're supposed to do, and remember, they can always replace you, and keep that in mind.
Well, and that's the thing, yes, they can always replace you, but
Yep.
can they replace you? That's the real question. And I know I said the same thing twice there, but it's just it's true. Like, give me somebody who has learned a procedure, learned how to do something, and they do it so well that you know they just that it's on autopilot. You can trust them with anything that has to do with that skill, that thing, and I will pay them as much as it takes for them to be happy, so they can stick around and grow. But I can never replace that level of skill with
Joe,
somebody fresh out of college.
I will leave you with this, and I won't go into detail on the employer or who they were, but someone that I knew very well, person was working at the job, passed away. Before he could be buried, his job was reposted online. I'll just leave you with that.
Yeah.
I'll leave you with that. Before the dirt could settle, the man's job description posting was already reposted. So, yeah. Then again, anyway, we can go deep and dark down somewhere else. But today's news is artificial intelligence can make you do less.
That's true. Now, some practical things that we can talk about with that is simple. I just want to say that here's some things you guys could do. All right, that you can automate this week, and you should do it. You really should. First, automate your review replies. I don't care how you do it. Figure out a way. We have a tool for that. We can talk about it if you want to. Feel free to reach out. But there are other tools out there. Automate your review replies. Second, I would say is use AI to draft one email. But I want you to remember this. Draft the email, but please do not copy and paste it directly in. Just because you'll see what I'm talking about. Fact check your email, but just try it. Try drafting an email, see what you got. And then the last one I'll mention before I let Sean talk about a couple maybe he's thought of is batch create some social posts using AI. Just make a whole bunch. Okay. Just pick a subject matter, go to town, batch create like a whole month's worth of posts. So you're posting 3 days a week. Okay. See what happens. All right, Sean, what you got?
Well, I mean, you hit on some really good ones, to be perfectly honest with you. And I would say that for me, whenever it comes down to business and productivity, um, you can use it for being able to help you generate, you know, video scripts if you're doing marketing, just a framework. I know we've talked about that before about inspiration in terms of that. I use a lot for learning and research. Being able to help take a lot of information and give you quick summaries and explanations as well. Um, really helping you being able to organize your thoughts and so forth. And really, believe it or not, you can use it for being able to help improve your writing, at least with your tone and grammar. Specifically, if those of you that are in school that are trying to use MLA or APA format, you can use that specific format and see how it writes. Now, you got to check it, but for the most part, it is a great way of being able to help you with that as well.
Love it. I guess so. Long story short, guys, let's make sure that you're getting your time back, not adding more complexity in time. Though I'm still mystified as to why someone would still think that at the end, after they learn it, that it would still do that. But if it is, throw it away, like we said. And I mean, that's pretty much it for today, guys. Look, if AI helped you get some time back, let us know. Let us know. Put down in the comments, send us an email, and hey, if you're still stuck in work late nights, email us. We'll fix that. It's easy. All right. But you gotta want it. Okay. You can't just, say help. I'm gonna be like, help what? Oh man. Sean, any other closing thoughts that you had?
Can you play that really good music again?
Absolutely. You know what I was gonna do? Actually, I was going to play it as the outro.
Okay. Okay.
I'm just gonna have it play as the outro, and we're just gonna roll with that. Does that sound good?
Sounds great, man.
All right, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
See if I can do this.